The audio tape you are about to hear was produced by Werner Erhard and Associates, an education and communications enterprise which creates and delivers transformational programs. Transformation, a method of inquiry into the basic questions of human existence, actually enables and empowers an individual's ability to live and work in the world in an impactful, creative, authentic way. More than 500,000 people worldwide have participated in this inquiry since its inception in 1971. The basic course, known as the Forum, as well as courses and workshops in communication and productivity, are offered by area centers throughout the United States, Canada, Western and Eastern Europe, Asia, and Australia. For information, contact Werner Erhard and Associates at 765 California Street, San Francisco, California, 94108. This audio tape was recorded at the Daughters of the American Revolution Constitution Hall in Washington, D.C.
Thank you. Well, I wish I could do as warm a welcome, but my welcome is with all my heart. So thank you very much for being here. It's a real privilege for me to be able to be here and be with you. We've really had a remarkable breakthrough recently in this work, what amounts to a major breakthrough in the possibility of the value of the work and its impact on the effectiveness of living and on the quality of life for people. And I recognize as I go through these periods in this work where things become very creative and new possibilities open up that I owe a great deal to a lot of people, that the opportunity for this work, really being able to do it at all, is a product of an enormous amount of support from a lot of people. Really, the work is possible out of those interactions and relationships and actions that people take with their lives, kind of like keeping their necks stuck out, living at risk, so to speak. The setup isn't so good when I stand on a platform and speak because it looks like a lecture or a talk or something like that. And I wanted to be clear about the nature of the evening tonight. The nature of this evening is really in the nature of an inquiry. We're going to use the 3.5 hours that we'll spend together to inquire into certain issues. And the issues into which I'd like to inquire are not the issues with which we're ordinarily concerned. In the normal course of events, we have this everyday way of being in the world. We have these everyday concerns, our relationships, our health, our work, our jobs, our finances, our children and their lives, our friends and their lives, the world, the nation. Tonight's an inquiry into something which underlies all of that, something underneath those concerns which we have, which I'll call our everyday concerns, those concerns about our everyday way of being in the world. And we want to inquire tonight into issues which are literally at the heart of the matter of being human. These are issues with which we're not normally engaged on a everyday basis. Hopefully we've taken some time from time to time to engage in those issues. Maybe we read a book at night about those issues. Maybe we spend a few hours during the week engaged in those issues about what lies at the heart of the matter for human beings. But for the most part, our everyday lives are not about that. And so tonight is going to be a bit of a strain on you, given that I'm going to be asking you to kind of change your pace. The way in which we're engaged with life on an everyday basis, on a daily concerns basis, is not quite the appropriate mode for an inquiry into these issues which lie at the heart of the matter for human beings. We're going to take a look tonight, like a very serious look, like an inquiry, like asking the question, what kind of a being is a human being? We all kind of take it for granted. As a matter of fact, there are those who say that being for human beings is like air to the bird or water to the fish. We kind of take it for granted. We don't give much real thought to it. Not that we don't have opinions about it, and not that we haven't been told something about it, and not that we don't have certain beliefs about it, but we very rarely stop and question, just what kind of a being is a human being. So tonight, that's kind of the general question. What kind of a being is a human being? And I suggest to you that certain things will come up that may be difficult. That this is not an easy inquiry. There are not pat answers to this. And as a matter of fact, some of the honest answers, some of the honest possibilities about that question are somewhat uncomfortable. So in addition to actually having to work tonight, to kind of have to be up on the edge of your seat with these issues, some of it may be a bit uncomfortable. In addition to the question, what kind of a being is a human being, we want to then go on, if we can get someplace engaged in that question, engaged with that issue, we want to go on a bit from there in whatever opens up for us out of that inquiry to inquire into the possibility of being for human beings. We kind of take that one for granted as well. And so those questions may not seem very exciting at first glance, since they don't have anything to do with looking good for the most part. But I'm promising, and I want to be very clear about this promise, that the inquiry tonight and the work tonight is not some esoteric matter that has nothing to do with our everyday way of being in the world, with our everyday concerns. But rather, we're doing this inquiry for its practical value, for the impact that it can have on our everyday being in the world, on our everyday concerns. So we've got a very strange situation. We're going to be dealing with those issues which lie at the heart of the matter for human beings, those fundamental issues about being for human beings. And we're going to engage in this inquiry for a specific purpose, and the purpose is for the impact that it can have on our everyday concerns, on our everyday being in the world. Now, in the beginning, you may not see any relationship between this inquiry and, for instance, your relationships with your children. You may not see any correlation between this inquiry and your concerns at work, or for your concerns in your relationships, or your social concerns, or your concerns for the world. But I'm promising that there is a relationship. These issues that we're going to be addressing tonight are ancient issues. I didn't invent them. And the people with whom I work didn't invent them, nor did you invent them. They've been around for a very, very long time. They're old questions. They're questions that came along with being human. They're questions that came along with our civilization. What we did invent, and what we're going to be working with tonight, is a way of getting at these questions. So I want to be clear that while these questions have been gotten at by many different disciplines of humanity, that the method for tonight, the discipline that we'll be using tonight, is one that we invented, and I'll tell you why we invented it and what it's supposed to do. So the questions are ancient, and the method of inquiry, the discipline which we'll be using to get at those questions, is one that we invented for this occasion. The method we call transformation. It's not philosophy, although you'll hear some of the concerns from philosophy in the questions that we're asking tonight. It's not religion or theology, although you'll hear some of the concerns of religion and theology in the questions that we're asking tonight. It's not many other disciplines like sociology or anthropology. So the question about being that we're asking, this engagement with the fundamental questions, the fundamental issues for human beings about their own being. What kind of a being is a human being? What is the possibility of being for human beings? Is not a question that we want to ask in a philosophical domain. We don't want to ask it in the psychological domain. So tonight is not about psychology or a psychological approach to these questions. It's not anthropological, nor is it historical.